Welcome, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is a very exciting one. As you guys know, I'm starting a project called Coffee with Friends, and I'm here with the awesome Jesse O. For those who don't know, Jesse is actually my wedding videographer for me and Shannon. We got married. He created amazing work. He does amazing work, and you know, I'm not gonna hold you long. Let the people know what you do, Jesse. Like, let them know, like, you're not, you know, what you do, like, what kind of stuff that you, you know, you create.
Yeah. So overall, I consider myself a video producer. You know, I used to call myself a videographer, cinematographer, all these things. But at this point, I just consider myself a producer because at this point in my career, I'm trying to move on into more of a team-based approach.
Yeah.
You know, I had the solopreneur, you know, era for a while. I still am in that space, but it's more and more becoming more about referral partnerships with other business owners, or just about building a team. So overall, we do weddings, events, promotional videos, content creation for businesses as well, marketing videos. So event and marketing, I would say, if I would have to condense it, basically event and marketing video is what we specialize in.
And that's dope. And like in the space of, like, you know, like you said, you do wedding videos, you do commercial stuff, you do events and all that stuff. Like, what is something that, like, how did that come to be? Like, did you know, like, you know, growing up, like, this is, like, I want to be the best, like, you know, filmmaker, or did it, like, come with time?
So I was very lucky. So I went to Sleepy Hollow High School here in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, nice.
And I was really lucky because around the time that YouTube really started to, like, get bigger, we're going to age ourselves a little bit, right? But we're talking about, like, 2006, around there. Sleepy Hollow started this multimedia program. So like animation, video production, photography, everything.
Oh, dope.
And you know, I was always into like the more creative side of things. And I joined that club. Every semester, like, I could not go a semester without joining the class, even if I already took it. Like I just became obsessed with that world. And then I got lucky enough that they actually flew me out to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
To Adobe Max, so Adobe's yearly conference.
That's dope,
So in 2007, they flew me out there.
Oh, wow.
Me and this one other kid, because we were the kids that were the most into it, and we pretty much helped set the foundation for the digital yearbook.
Oh, wow.
That they would host online. So they flew us out there. I got to meet professionals from all around the world. I got to really, like, see what the industry was about. And then after that, I was like, no, this is what I'm doing.
No, that's dope. that's dope, because it's like, it kind of like even now, like, I feel like, you know, like you said, like, you had like that kind of foundational to kind of like pour into you, and even something like that, like, send you to, like, say, like, it didn't just stay at school. They were like, all right, we noticed that there's something you want to do. We want to pour into you and send you even to that, like, which is like a blessing, because you know, I hate to say, like, you know, the creatives, like, when it comes to like arts and like filmmaking, it's not like a lot of opportunities for like kids for that. So it's like, that's like even dope. So like, even how was that experience, like having that, like, someone pour into you and like mentor?
I couldn't believe it at the time. I was like, well, really, you're gonna fly me out somewhere? Because so I'm first generation, right? Also, so it's like, you know, that's not the most recommended career path. You know what I mean? Because it's I guess now it's different, I feel like, because everyone's doing content creation, but at the time it was like, you know, it felt like a much bigger risk to go down that route. And then to get that opportunity, to me, was mind-blowing, because I never thought I could even attend something like that. You know?
It's good, because like, even something that you touched on was like, you know, like your first generation, like, I think I could, you know, we could say, like, our parents don't really understand it, especially when we, like, say, I want to be a filmmaker. Like, they're like, what? Like, what is even that? So it's like, even on that, like, how did you kind of silence that? Like, of course, like, you know, how did you kind of silence that and be like, all right, like, of course, I can go the safe route, which is like doctor, lawyer, police officer, and stuff like that. But how did you navigate through that? Because I think for a lot of us, right, we come in, like, you know, we have parents, friends, aunties, uncles, you know, that's like, you sure you want to do that? Like, it's such an oversaturated, like, field. Like, how did you navigate that, like, growing up, but also, like, even in this field now, where, like, everybody's a filmmaker, everybody's a photographer and content creator?
Well, it's interesting, because for a long time I felt very siloed or solo, like, in this track, because there weren't a lot of kids with my background that were pursuing it. Even when I went to college. So I ended up going to Syracuse, like, for computer art and video production and things like that. But even then, it was like, I was the only kid, like, from my type of background in those classes, or like, even amongst my friend group, like, everyone was engineers, IT students, business school, and then it's like, I'm the only one doing this video thing. So it was like, it was always hard that sense of community, like you always kind of yearn for it.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, damn, like no one really is into what I'm into,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever. And it was because again, it was something that was probably discouraged more than anything, right? But I think for me, it's just like I just always had like, I guess, a bigger vision or a bigger dream for what I wanted to pursue. And I think I always saw it as like one of those things where it was like, damn, like I don't want to be. I don't want to knock people's careers either. Because the traditional career paths, I got so much respect for so many of those. I just never gravitated towards any of those. For me, it was like, if I'm gonna go hard doing this college thing and like internships and all this stuff, if it's gonna be tough anyways, I might as well try to do something I love.
Exactly.
And that's the way I kind of always like looked at it.
No, yeah, and that's true, because it's like, again, it's like, you know, because I'm sure like even when you were making those type of decisions, you were like, you don't want to live with that regret of like, all right, like I chose this route, but then like I really wanted to do this route, and like even kind of like the grace and like the faith move, where it's like, you know, like if I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna do it. Because like even for those who like know me, like I kind of started my filmmaking a little bit at a later route. Like even though I knew, like I had like, for those who like know that like the movie that kind of shaped me to be like a filmmaker was Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Like I was like, my dad like used to play that movie like all the time, and I was like, I remember one day I was like watching the movie, and I was like, I want to just randomly in the living room, like I want to be a movie filmmaker, like I just want to be a director, like at a very young age. And it's like, you know, like love my mom, love you, but like she was like, I remember you telling her like, I want to be a photographer when I grow, I want to be a filmmaker. She was like, you sure? Like of course, like any parent, like, you know, they want the best for their children and stuff like that, and like, you know, like, you sure you want to do that? Like I'd rather you do that's not safe, like what's that? Like that's not a thing. That's like a hobby kind of thing. And it's like, even when I can't grew up and stuff like that, and now even her seeing like the fruits of my labor, she's like now starting to get it. So it's like, even like how, like my question for you is like, as you are establishing like, you know, this, like how, like I guess like what is your, like what kind of not foundation, legacy do you want this to kind of, you know, because of course, like, you know, I don't classify you as like, you're just a wedding filmmaker and stuff like that, or just like I consider you like a filmmaker and stuff like that, because even the stuff that I've seen you know, do, like it's not like a casual like, he's just a videographer that's just like with the gimbal, and like, you know, like you really put thought into your stuff.
And I've had to clash with my own self, like an internal battle almost about that stuff, because and I think that's one of the things with the arts in general is like, you know, you kind of can't let what other people are saying or whatever like rattle you too much, because I was in a space once where like I was doing all this wedding stuff, like still doing great work, but then like you would get people around you being like, you know, within the industry being like, oh, I could never do that, I could never do weddings, or like, oh no, that's not real film, or that's not real art, and real film is like this and that. You know, you get a lot of that. But I think really like there is an art form to it, regardless of what you're doing. Right. Like, to me, everyone that knows how to use a professional camera and is telling a story, you're a filmmaker. Doesn't matter what other people are telling you. Right, you're not a filmmaker. Like, you're still telling stories. Which is the essence of it. And then, you know, I've seen people that knock that, but then like someone made a feature film with like the FX3 or something, right? And they don't have like a Komodo, or the third. But anyways, we're getting into a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother topic. But all right, so you were just asking about, sorry, what was it?
It was like what kind of legacy do you want your brand to like, kind of like go on for like the future?
No, that's a big question. I think for me, the big aspect I'm focused on right now is community. I think community, like amongst creatives and just creators out there that are just trying to do their thing, and like, especially now in this, like, I guess you could call it like a content economy. That we're in, where like now everyone needs content for everything. No, I think for me, it's more about like, you know, creating your own opportunities. And I think like the people that are in my creative circle and I do most business with, and then we just mesh in that form. These are all people that, you know, they just know how to make things happen. They just know how to like, they come from that like coming from nothing, but I can turn nothing into something kind of mentality. So I think it's just more about honing that and keeping that legacy alive, or that idea. Because especially with social media nowadays, like the ironic thing is that everything's about video now, but then there's so many ideas being shared now, and so many different philosophies, and like, and like I just personally feel like it's important to stay true to yourself, you know, no matter what you are, what you're doing, or, you know, what you're pursuing, just trying to like, you know, stick to it, And yeah, surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
You know?
And even like that aspect of like community, right? Because I feel like even like a lot of people, like I would say like in this field, I would say like, you know, we all kind of yearn for that community. Like we even touched about it on it earlier. Was like, you know, in this field, like, you know, especially in school, like you have people that's like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Stuff like that. Like, can you touch on like why even community in this field, right? Because it's like, of course, like I think people may kind of say like, oh, community, you don't really need community and stuff like that, because it's like you're doing it by yourself. But it's like even on your on your part, like you have like a group, a team that you kind of do collaborative with here and there and stuff like that. Can you touch on like why even community in that form is important?
We lean into the concept of community over competition. But it's interesting because kind of like, it's like we are all each other's competitors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we create a community, and it's kind of like, we're not always trying to one up each other, but when you see someone else win that's in your circle, you want to win too. And like, you know, because I feel like keeping that motivation going is one of the toughest things when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like being able to celebrate the wins, but then when you celebrate a win, you got to already jump on to the next thing because the business all relies on you, right?
Yeah.
So you can't stop. You got to keep going. But when you surround yourself with that community aspect, I think it lightens the load because you see these other people are also doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you're constantly feeding each other ideas and concepts, and even this whole content creation thing, right? Like creating content for my own business has been one of the biggest challenges for me to ever do and promote my own business.
Yeah.
But with guys like Brian, Reggie from Evolve Frame, shout out to them, Armando, Andre, Darwin at Toto Studios. Like I could keep going, but like because of these people, we're helping each other create our own content, which is also super beneficial because now we're helping each other attract more clientele, and then we funnel clients to each other within that circle. Yeah. So what started off as siloed off different businesses is now, when you think about it, you could almost think about it as like a collective. Yeah. That's all referring business to each other. And it's like a system that works because now we're all growing together. Yeah. As opposed to like, you know, just going by yourself. What's that saying? Like, you could go further together.
Yeah. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go alone, if you want to go, it's kind of
if you want to go faster, go alone.
Yeah. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah.
So that's kind of what it's been like. And like even launching Impact Stories, like I was supposed to launch it last year. I didn't launch it till this year. But behind the scenes, a lot of that community aspect was brewing, and like we were learning how to work together and like what kind of like how everyone fits into the big puzzle, right? Yeah. Like, okay, like Evolve Frame. Like now I know Evolve Frame is like a great post-production partner for me. Like they're better at like me, like leaning on them to help me with post-production. Yeah. I don't need to like worry now about buying my own studio space or renting out a big studio space because I got Darwin for that.
Shout out to Darwin.
Yeah, shout out to Darwin at Total Studios. Yeah. I got the drone stuff and FPV. I was like stressing out about, man, I gotta learn FPV now. No, I got Dylan. Yeah. So it's like my mindset has shifted more into that mentality, where before it was like, oh man, like this huge mountain I gotta cross over, all this stuff I gotta have accomplished that I want to. But now it's like, no, I don't have to necessarily go that route. I can still keep focusing on what I love and lean on the rest of the team for these other elements and just help their businesses grow at the same time.
Yeah. And it's like something that you said too, like it reminded me of like even my friend group, like with the, like we're a community, but like if someone in my team or like my group, like if they hit a client, it's inspiring, like for me to like even hit a client, because it's like, like for me, like and we've talked about this in the car, like I hate editing for myself. Like it's not something that I want to say I hate it. It's more like I have trouble doing it for myself, because it's like even like with creating like my own vision for my own stuff, like it's easier for me to create vision for someone else and be like, all right, like this is a dope idea, edit like this, but like for when it comes to myself, like it's very, I guess, like I don't want to say like the imposter syndrome, but it's like, okay, like how like when you create so much content and stuff for other people, sometimes it's kind of hard to like,
it is,
like how do I funnel it to my own stuff? Because like even when you said like it took you like Impact, like you already had the vision like before, and it's like it's taking you now to launch it. Like it's the same thing with even this like talk creative collective thing, where it's like for me, like I had this vision since like last year, and I was like, literally written in my notebook and stuff like that. And I just was like, already knew who I wanted to talk to. And I was like, all right, like, but I feel like I kind of procrastinated a little bit because it was like, like I was more of like, I don't want to say I was fearful, but it was like, actually, I'll tell myself, like, I was fearful for it to kind of fail. But one thing, like, my pastor, shout out to Pastor Nay, like, she told me, it's like, don't fail forward, right? Like, it's like one of the things, like, it's like, even if it doesn't, the views is trash and stuff like that, or like, it doesn't kind of go in the way I want it to go, like, I'm still proud of myself for even, like, still doing that. And, like, all right, like, maybe I could do it like this, where maybe this is how I should do it. Maybe this is the format I should do it. And it's like, even on that sentiment, like, what I'm saying, like, even for you, like, cause again, like, Jesse's like one of those people, like, and again, I'm a, like, there's gonna be a little, like, kind of like, glow from my brother here, because it's like, like, when I started, like, I don't want to say when I started, when I got a little bit more, when I wanted to hit more of a professional route, I would hit Jesse up like, hey, how should I do this? Like, what should I do? Like, what's some advice and stuff like that? Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, wedding filmmaking, it's not that I don't like to do it. I just admire, like, it's 12 hours to tell somebody else's story and, like, come, like, there's so many pieces. And, like, even, like, my sister, like, shout out to Loretta, who's, like, a wedding photographer, stuff like that. She's, like, always talks about, like, how, like, it's not as easy as people think. Like, you think you're just, like, going to an event, you're doing this. Like, it's so much that kind of goes into that.
Yeah, because there's so many muscles you got to exercise on the wedding day. Like, there really is, because it's, like, it's filming and shooting photos on the one hand.
Yeah.
But it's client relation stuff.
Yeah.
It's how do you stay happy and peppy after like 8 hours, but you still have 4 left to go and you barely ate and you're dehydrated.
Right. Yeah. No, listen, because that's the thing too. Like, like that's the thing too. And like, I think people too is like, oh, like, yeah, it's a wedding. I'm gonna get fed and stuff like that. And I remember there's this one meme, and I always think about like when me and Shannon were looking for wedding filmmakers. It's like, all right, how can we make sure these people get fed? Because I remember this is the one meme that not even meme. It was an article where the guy he got denied food and he like format the whole memory card of the wedding.
Oh yeah.
And it was like even with that, like, because like you said, like I think it's like you exercising so much muscles and stuff like that. So for like, I'll say like, to
if you have no people skills, it's gonna be very hard for you.
Yeah,
and you got to push yourself to develop that.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like it's not easy, and like I even admire like you and like my sister Loretta who does that. Because even on our wedding day, you're like, hey, you guys need anything, stuff like that. I was like, we're like, oh wow, like this is something new, because we're like, when you think of a vendor, you think of like, all right, they're here to do a job, they're here to do a specific job, but like it even speaks to the sentiment of like you was there, but like you were like there to do a job, but you were also like there like as a friend and like as a counselor, like, hey, like how you doing, like how you feeling, like you need anything, you need water. We were like, huh? Like it was like such a like because like. We just thought he was gonna come, like we wasn't ready and stuff. Like it was like so much happened on our wedding day, but like Jesse was like, and his second shooter was like really there for us like that day, and like I even appreciate like even our wedding film, like we still look to it at this day. And it's gonna be a little sponsored, not sponsored, but like for those who are like interested in who are getting married, who are like trying to tell stories and stuff like that, please book Jesse. Like he is one of those great filmmakers and stuff. I'm saying to all the cameras, that's like one of those great like filmmakers who really like captures your vision and stuff like that. And I would say like even to like for you, like my goal and my prayer is that like it doesn't just stop at just wedding films, because I don't like, again, I'll tell you this all the time, I don't classify you as like a wedding filmmaker. I classify you as like a storyteller. No, I appreciate my goal is that like even as the years and stuff like that go on, like like all the fruits and labors and stuff like that you poured into people, like you just get it like tenfold.
Thank you. No.
Yeah,
and that's the journey that I've been on. I think it's becoming more and more clear now. But like I said, with Impact Stories, like I had the concept for Impact Stories for a little bit, but the language wasn't right. Like there's so many things you gotta figure out. But I feel like it's interesting because it's also a personal journey. It's not just a journey as a business owner, as an artist. It's like a very deeply personal journey, at least for me, because it's like, I'm gonna put this brand out there, but I need that brand to represent what I'm really about, and I need to make sure that what I'm delivering is true to me. So like there was that whole journey, and then even like outside of that, like I want to get into like documentary filmmaking, right? But that took me a while too, because I always knew I wanted to dive into filmmaking at some point, and that's where I'm trying to explore now. But it was like, what kind of films do I want to create? What kind of films resonate with me? Because whenever I would try to do like, let's say, scripted nonfiction pieces, it just doesn't work for me. And I feel like I was trying to force myself into that box for a long time. Of like, oh, like that's the type of filmmaking you gotta do. You know, be a director, this and that. Work with talent, write scripts. But every time I tried to execute it, it doesn't flow, it doesn't flow, it doesn't flow. But what does flow for me is documentary style work.
Yeah.
Whether it's weddings or now documentary style work for businesses.
Yeah.
That works for me, and I think it's because like I like stories that are grounded in reality.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it comes from I think it comes from why I originally loved cameras in the first place, which I like documentary reality and real life.
Yeah.
Preserving memories and also just telling stories of real people, real places.
Yeah.
So now when I'm diving into that side as an artist, now I'm like, okay, now that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Like I like documentary reality. I like telling real stories, helping people get their voices out there. That I'm very motivated to do.
Yeah.
Whereas like scripted stuff, even doing like a commercial, like writing stuff, it just doesn't click. So I think that's a journey everybody has to go through on a personal level.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm just at a point where like I'm going with what flows.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna try to force myself into like another box because that again, like in the first half of my career, especially working for like other businesses and agencies, it was always trying to like force myself into something that just wasn't clicking.
Yeah, and and that's true. Like I think, and that's something we overlook too as business owners. Like our journey, like especially our branding, it's a very personal journey. Like it's like you're not gonna get it. Like I mean, if you do get it, like right there and stuff like that, that's a blessing. But like a lot of times it's a process and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like my thing, like to kind of close us out, like what is some advice, like even with process and stuff like that you would like kind of just like leave a little kind of like a little, a little cherry on top. Like what is like thing about even processing, even community and stuff like that you can leave with the people.
Well, I think, and we're speaking here to like potential solopreneurs.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that I actually have been reflecting on is very personal to me. I'm actually almost getting emotional just thinking about it.
Cry.
No, I'm not gonna cry. But it's be good to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Because like a lot of social media nowadays pushes, and I think it's like a pop psychology thing.
Yeah.
Pushes a lot of like self-care and like self-love.
Yeah.
Screw all that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is a thing, but I instead now have adopted be good to yourself. If you're having a rough day, if you think that things aren't panning out, no matter what's going on, in that day, take a few hours to be good to yourself. Like, if you just busted your ass, like doing a great job for your clients, you just worked a 12-hour day. Hey, be good to yourself and go get yourself, I don't know, a burger or something. Take a nice bath. Like, like I'm serious. Like, be good to yourself, and that's something that I'm now like just recently adopting because like for a long time, like throughout this whole journey of pursuing weddings and my own business and my brand and stuff, like I haven't been the best to myself because I was very motivated by like being harder on myself. But that can only take you so far. I feel like. And I don't want to say you're going to burn out, but at least for me, it's more like you hit a point where it's like you're not celebrating your victories as you go along. You're not giving yourself your flowers that you deserve. And also you can get kind of caught up in that hamster wheel of like, I need more, I need more, I need more. But the crazy thing is, once I adopted, being good to myself, being better to myself, and I'm now incorporating that into my day-to-day, everything's flowing better. Ideas are coming to me more. Better business is coming to me. So like, remember to just take care of yourself, keep yourself balanced as well, because you could be doing 1,000 things and killing it or whatever. But you're gonna be so fogged up in your own mind. That you're gonna be missing, opportunities and like moments because you're just like being way too hard on yourself. So.
No, that's good.
That's something I would.
That's good. No, like definitely, like because that again, like is. I think we overthink like that part is like because we're so, especially New Yorkers, I would say, is like we're so that grind culture, like we gotta go out and get it. Like if you sitting or you're behind more than like an hour, like you're doing something wrong. But I think that's like really important for all creators to think is like really like be good to yourself. Like it's alright like to not get it right or like if you like celebrate your small wins.
Think of it as a marathon, right? Not a sprint, because like. And I appreciate it, like everything, all the love and everything with wedding stories, impact stories. But like, if you were to know behind the scenes, like it's not all like perfect and pretty and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of like, a lot of stuff that goes on like that. That's very like deep and personal. So just know that you're not alone. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. And pace yourself. Like you're gonna get there. If you pace yourself and you treat it as a marathon, you will get there. But you're more likely to sabotage yourself if you're like just going a little bit too too fast.
No, and I appreciate that, man. Thank you for like even that tidbit, because like the people don't know. They don't know the amount of tears we shed, the amount of anger and frustration that we go through just to like keep this vision afloat. Because again, it's like again, like we're people of like, you know, African American and Spanish descent. It's like, you know, it's like we already fight like the stereotypes of like, okay, like we're not gonna get far, like there's gonna be like a failed hobby, but it's like that kind of like drive to like, all right, like I need to push past through the noise, and I need to see this thing.
And there's always a way, because I mean, obviously, like there's more in hindsight, right? Like it's easier to see things in hindsight. But there were certain decisions I made, let's say in my 20s, that if I would have had a version of me tell me, I could have skipped through like years of nonsense. You know, because it was actually sometimes more simple than you make it. Like in your mind, you might make it a lot more complicated than what it really is. So
definitely. This is definitely gonna be a part 2, because I feel like there's so much that we have to unpack here. But like definitely, like this is gonna be definitely a part 1 to a part 2, because this definitely will be a part 2. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I will keep Jesse's all his information, socials, all that stuff. If you know, let's say you're a wedding, you have a wedding coming up, or even simple like just content creation, like I have all his stuff down below. So you guys can like, you know, reach out to him, and definitely, you know, thank you again for this, brother.
Anytime.
All right. See you guys.